Now, pop culture loves a good old plot hole. It's a chance to poke fun at the creators of the media we enjoy so much and delude ourselves into thinking that the immensely complex and difficult task of writing for a multi-million-dollar project is something any mere mortal can do. And you know what franchise people just love combing over to extreme degrees? Star Wars. But you know what? Some of the air quotes plot holes that have been found turned out to actually not be plot holes. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 Star Wars plot holes that really aren't. Number 9. Why did the Jedi not sense the dark side around Palpatine? So the plot hole here is that the Jedi meet with Palpatine face to face, yet do not sense anything is off with him. But the Jedi actually did. During the Jedi War Council in Revenge of the Sith, Mace Windu states that the dark side of the Force surrounds the Chancellor, and none of the Jedi in attendance, among whom are his fellow council members, actually disagree with him. The distrust is nothing new though. In Attack of the Clones, Yoda is also clearly suspicious of Palpatine, so why the inaction? Well, again, the War Council provides a clear explanation. Put simply, the Supreme Chancellor is the democratically elected head of the Republic. Apart from the fact that accusing a man subject to such intense scrutiny of being a Sith Lord would be laughable, arresting him without proof would be tantamount to treason. Worse, as stated by Windu, the Jedi would be compelled to take control of the Senate, which is in essence the Republic itself, to ensure an orderly transition of power. From the citizens' perspective, this would leave them at the mercy of an already unpopular quasi-religious order composed of superpowered individuals. Palpatine had brilliantly outmaneuvered the Jedi, placing them in a vice between their commitment to destroying the Sith on the one hand and their commitment to upholding democracy on the other. Whatever the choice, they lost. Number 8. Why did Obi-Wan call himself Old Ben? So why did Obi-Wan Kenobi, while in hiding, use such an obvious misdirection as Old Ben Kenobi? Also, why hide Luke on Tatooine? Vader's not only native to that planet, but personally met the 2 people to whom Obi-Wan entrusted Luke. While the usual defense is that Vader did not know that his children were still alive, which, while being elegant, is actually quite an incomplete theory. In A New Hope, Tarkin clearly states that the Jedi are extinct, their fire has gone out in the universe, you, my friend, are all that's left of their religion. Ergo, they did not search for Obi-Wan because they believed that there was nothing to search for. But using the surname Kenobi was still a risk, yes? Well, no actually, because Tatooine is an outer rim, sparsely populated, relatively poor desert planet, with Obi-Wan living in a remote, desolate corner surrounded by hostile Tusken Raiders. Word of a crazy hermit in the hills is hardly going to be considered newsworthy, and certainly won't be of interest to the galactic elite back on Coruscant. No, Obi-Wan kept his name in order to maintain a link to his past, one that would and does end up convincing Luke to journey with him. Number 7. Why can't stormtroopers hit the broadside of a bloody barn? Now, the plot hole here is that Han and company escape from the Death Star, which, lest we not forget, is a battle station swarming with thousands of trained stormtroopers. So why can't they bloody hit them at least once? Well, the widely accepted response is that the stormtroopers were ordered to allow the intruders to escape, and part of which required them to deliberately fudge their aim, which is neat but absolute nonsense. Apart from being catastrophic for morale, no such order was ever seen to be given nor implied by any line of dialogue. More saliently, according to Stormtrooper radio chatter, the majority of the Death Star security forces were uncertain of the rebels' location, with some completely unaware of what was happening, which is hardly the hallmark of a planned tactic. The true explanation for the stormtroopers' abysmal marksmanship is a mite more prosaic. As stated by Luke, the standard issue stormtrooper helmet is difficult to see out of, and obviously enough, if you can't see, you can't aim. And more crippling than sloppy ergonomic design is the standard of training on display. Nearly all of the stormtroopers in all 3 of the original trilogy films shoot from the hip. While being a perfect technique for your average 80s action hero, attempting the same stunt on a real battlefield will leave you, at best, putting holes in everything but your target, and at the very worst, dead. Number 7. Technology goes backwards. So weirdly enough, the prequel film's technology seems much more advanced, which does not make any sense at all since the Republic predates the Imperial period, right? Well, what needs to be considered is that this slick aesthetic design does not necessarily equate to advanced technology. A 50s-era clunker dressed in a supercar shell is still going to be a 50s-era clunker under the hood. All of the technology seen in the prequels, be it droids, view scans, holograms, or shields, is present in the original trilogy. Far from going going backwards, the Imperial period produced weapons not seen during the Republic era. We see the Super Star Destroyer, planetary ion cannons, not to mention the Death Stars, the second of which was more advanced than the first. And yes, in our modern era of touchscreens, a console bedecked in kindergarten buttons looks archaic, but the fewer the buttons, the greater the degree of automation. The reality is that the meteoric rise of CGI allowed George Lucas to build the fantasy world he always had imagined. And that world was always going to be populated by vehicles and gadgets more intricate, artistic and detailed than anything seen in the original trilogy. But while the shell of the original trilogy may have regressed into something industrial and Spartan, the underlying technology did not. Number 5. How do Ewoks defeat Stormtroopers? I mean, I ask you, how do rotund furry teddy bears manage to take on and trounce the Empire's best? Well, the answer is that they're not teddy bears. I mean, cast your mind back to the homemade traps set for the Imperial walkers. One of these involves the piling up of truly massive logs. The other involves lifting 2 of said massive logs a good 8 meters into the air. Handling loads of this size would require engineering prowess equal to that of the Roman Bloody Empire. Apart from the intelligence and coordination involved in constructing these traps, the sheer strength needed to manhandle such immense weights without the use of engines is staggering. And not only do the Ewoks have to lift the trees, but they have to cut them down with stone axes. Recall also that the Ewoks were able to physically overpower the Stormtroopers and bludgeon them to death in spite of their protective armor. So the conclusion, not only is there more than stuffing between those cute ears, but under that fur, Ewoks are bloody ripped. Number 4. Why are Star Wars tracking devices undetectable? So in Star Wars, trackers cannot be detected, even if they're thrown onto the hull of a spacecraft. How is this possible in such an advanced universe? Well, this argument would seem to be watertight, but it stands to reason that a tracking device fulfills its purpose by transmitting coordinates. Those transmissions, in turn, should be subject to interception. And you know what? They are. In The Empire Strikes Back, a probe droid's communication with the Imperial fleet is intercepted, leading to the droid's destruction. So why are transmissions from tracking devices the exception? Well, out of all of the 6 Star Wars films made by George Lucas, trackers are only used on 2 occasions. Intriguingly, by the military and by the Jedi. Military implies classified and classified implies cutting edge. Consequently, the technology we are dealing with is not just some sort of bog-standard radio, but something rather more quantum. With the threat of such advanced technology being reverse engineered, it stands to reason that the Empire would ensure that the devices are not detectable. The risk Tarkin took in allowing the Falcon to escape from the Death Star was thus twofold: the loss of a valuable intelligence asset in Leia, but also handing the rebels incredibly sensitive technology. As that probe droid on Hoth found out, his caution was entirely justified. Number 3. How is Luke able to pilot an X-Wing? So how is Luke, a farm boy, able to pilot a starfighter as advanced as an X-Wing? Now this explanation is tough esoteric, but it's there all the same. In a deleted scene from A New Hope, it's revealed that Luke flew the T-16 Skyhopper, a spacecraft used, according to lore, as a trainer for the X-Wing. The model Luke is playing with in the garage on Tatooine, that is a T-16. The spacecraft visible in the background, the very T-16 in which Luke bull's-eyed womp rats in Beggar's Canyon. Clearly, Luke's statement that he is not such a bad pilot is no idle boast. Consider also that experienced pilots, including the pilot in command on the strike of the Death Star, not only allows Luke to fly the X-Wing, but to fly it in combat as part of his squadron, something that he would dare not do if Luke was clueless. As for Luke's convenient combat prowess, with his marksmanship and piloting skills having been established, only one thing remains to be explained: his lack of nerves. But when you remember that only hours before Luke faced down an entire Death Star's worth of stormtroopers, 4 TIE fighters, and never mind the sight of the dreaded battle station itself, one can only safely say that the jitters were no longer a problem. Number 2. Why did that one Trade Federation transport not shoot Qui-Gon Jinn? So when Qui-Gon Jinn is seen fleeing from an armed Trade Federation transport, only a few minutes ago we saw them trying to kill him, so why doesn't it open fire? Well, to solve this mystery, we need to do nothing more than just look at the context. All military operations are time critical, and battle droids aboard the transport were needed to pacify any resistance on different parts of Naboo. Having witnessed the futility of pitting a small squad of battle droids against the Jedi, and unable to halt the entire invasion to deal with a single Jedi, there was simply no point in engaging him. But they did not need to. A force of battle droids riding STAPs or Stormtrooper aerial platforms had already been dispatched to deal with the Jedi. That they were ineffective might come as no surprise to the viewer, but having seen the success of heavy weapons like droidekas, the Trade Federation would have backed their chances. Wrongly, as it turned out. Silly though the plot hole may seem, the scene is pivotal. If Jyn died at this earlier juncture, then Jar Jar Binks is never recruited, Obi-Wan never arrives in Theed City in time to save the Queen, never meets Anakin, who then is never trained, never fathers Luke, and never becomes Darth Vader. So quite literally, no Qui-Gon Jinn, no Star Wars. And number 1, parsecs, unit of time or distance. By having Han imply that completing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs is fast, George Lucas clearly confused a unit of measurement with a unit of time. But actually, it turns out that this was rectified later on, with the standalone Solo film showing that technically it was right. That by taking a shortcut, you could actually complete the Kessel Run in a shorter distance than most other people trying to run it. Therefore, saying that you completed it in 12 parsecs is actually a huge boast, saying that you shaved not only time, but actual distance off the run. We waited a long time for this revelation, but it was actually quite satisfying to see it paid off. And there we go, my friends. Those were 9 Star Wars plot holes that really aren't. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself well with love and respect, my friend, because you deserve all of the best things in life, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? I want you to go out there and absolutely smash it today, you big ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.